Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Promptly Speaking, where we bring you the stories of the movers and shakers of our industry and their journey to success. I am your host, Jack Madrid, and with us today is Claire Alfonso, Global Vice President of Concentrix. Let's welcome Claire to Promptly Speaking. Claire, thank you for making time to join us this afternoon.
I'm super looking forward to be here.
And it's going to be a fun conversation.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
So Claire, I'm going to start off with, let's take a step back. Let's just pretend that we met years ago. Okay. You were not even with Concentrix yet, yes. Before all the success and the titles and the promotions. What would you have told us back then that you wanted to become?
A doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. I had aspirations to take up medicine and then become a surgeon later on. Of course, life has different plans for me. That's why I'm here today. But that was really what I wanted. When very young child, that's what I wanted. I took up biology in college. Okay. I finished my degree. And then I was waiting for my national medical assessment test. And then eTelecare called. I was like, okay, medyo mahaba pa. It's many months away. So I want to give this a try. And of course, it's, earnings for me. I had allowance. So that's how I got into it. And,
I see. So you were studying for the...
NMAP, yes.
All right. And this was kind of just a temporary opportunity of sorts.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's quite a milestone right there. You didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So tell me, was there a moment when... life just nudged you towards the industry, towards the BPO world, or kind of was there at one point in your career you just woke up and then you realize, hey, I'm Claire Alfonso. I'm actually good at this.
I don't know about that, but at first, so. My first job ever was an agent for eTelecare.
Okay.
And I was part of an account we call Blue Box. So, you were part of this something new. Nobody has heard about call centers during that time. Even my mom was like, ano bang gagawin mo doon? So, I had to explain
working
it to her. Yes, working at night, right? And my mind was focused on actually just really keeping myself awake during the first few days because I was never a night owl. So that was really hard. Delivering spiels perfectly was a challenge for me. But that's how it all started. So at first, during the initial stages of my journey, it was just about that. I want to do this, I want to get regularized. Nakakahiya naman sa mga kapitbahay ko if I don't get regularized on my first job. Later on, when I became a team lead, I was like, there's a lot of people who actually stay. And I had the great fortune of learning and being inspired and being in awe of some of the icons of this industry, right? Benedict Hernandez was part of eTelecare. He led eTelecare for a long time. And seeing him there, I was like, this is actually really, really inspiring to me. But as I matured into leadership roles and I started feeling or seeing for myself how this industry uplifts and betters the lives of those who build their careers in this industry we have, I think that's when I started to feel that, this is where I'm meant to be. And I like being here. Everything about this industry interests me. The pace of it, the dynamics of it, the turning challenges into opportunities. And to me, that felt so surreal. And later on, as I saw, my colleagues build their careers, better the lives of their families and themselves, it became more meaningful and something bigger than myself. And I value the opportunity that I can contribute to that in my own little way. So I think that's why I stayed. It's my 25th year.
So thanks for sharing what was going through your head. Then. How many years in was that when you began thinking these things?
I think right around 4 to 5 years.
Okay,
right around 4 to 5 years when we.
Now, what happened to the aspirations to be a doctor?
It was actually, so I was dreading the conversation with my mom that, I wanted to not take my NMAT anymore and stay here a little bit longer, etc. But, my mom was cool and she said, if you want to try it, just stay there. Just, check it out, stay for a few more, probably another year. If you want to go back to taking up your medical degree, then go back to it. And I was like, okay. But after a year, which I promised her I'll evaluate after a year, I never left.
I see. So this no longer felt like a quick stop on your career path.
Correct.
So you began to feel that this was pulling you in.
Yes, pulling me in. So after that 1 year, I was just inspired and in awe of these leaders, right? So I felt like, okay, I'll give it another year. And then I started to get into mature or a little bit, higher leadership roles. And you begin to expose yourself to more opportunities and to see the larger impact. When you're at EL, you handle 15 people, diba?
Right.
And then later on, you go higher and higher, and then you see how much impact you actually make. The simple work that you do, the little work that you do, it actually impacts a lot of people. So that's when it's really started for me to feel like, I think I'm going to stay here.
So many leaders, Claire, have that similar euphoria or euphoric moment, when work stops feeling like just work.
Yeah.
And but in your case, was there a time when you thought, wow, this is really what I was meant to be?
Actually, I feel like those moments were really when, this work is really hard, right? This line of work that we do is really, really difficult. It's very challenging. And it takes a lot of guts. What they usually say is, dapat matibay sikmura mo. Aside from the fact that this is a night shift job. It takes a lot physically, right? And mentally. You also have to have the conviction to do it because clients are not always easy. In fact, some clients are very, very tough and their demands are really high. The pressure in this job is really high. The stress level is really high. So there were a lot of times in my career where I felt like, tatagal pa ba ako? Kaya ko pa ba? But every moment that I was contemplating whether I should go back to work or not, the yes always wins. Yes, I will go back because I have to do this, because I have a QBR coming up, or because I have a huge presentation, or because I have a huge potential client coming in. And that to me felt like, okay, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be, because despite the difficulty and everything that I've mentioned, you still choose a yes, right? So
Claire, I'm going to probe a little bit more. No, so ultimately, what made you stay? And because we all know, I mean, this, as you said so yourself, things get really, really tough, right? Often, tough clients. And what made you resist? Because I'm sure there were new, attractive opportunities that fell on your lap from time to time. No? So what ultimately made you stay?
And you said the word, no, it's cliche, but I think it's the people. It's the people that made me stay because first, I was a witness and I was part of those who actually started their career in this industry. Like fresh out of college, or you weren't you were still in the stage of proving yourself out there.
Right.
Wala ka pang napapatunayan. And yet here's a company that gives you an opportunity to prove yourself. And through the many years, those that I worked with, those that, were colleagues of mine, friends of mine, developed into become friends of mine, were starting to really change their lives positively, the lives of their families too. I remember I have colleagues who were sending their siblings to school, was paying for the hospitalization of their parents. Na when we were in training, we couldn't even afford bus fare pag wala pa kaming sweldo. So I also went through those times where it's pecha de peligro, right? And you're just waiting for your salary to be credited. And then we started to evolve. And then we started to become, a little bit more independent financially, at least capable at that time. And I felt like, okay, it's no longer play and it's no longer games. And despite the tough situations, the stress and the pressure, it actually gives a lot of upliftment. And it's a career. It's not just a side hustle or a job.
Right.
So that made me stay. I felt like it was meaningful for me.
Perfect answer. So Claire, you've led teams or you lead teams across different cultures, different regions. What has all those experiences taught you about what really connects and binds people beyond the titles, beyond all the accents that we hear and all the different time zones? What is the thing? What is the tie that binds us all?
I think a year back during the Concentrix kickoff, we had this session on Erin Meyer's book on Culture Map. And that's supposed to help us understand the differences in culture, the way we communicate, the way, passive, whether it's straightforward, whether some parts of the world are much more, subdued when it comes to the way they communicate, etc. It's the objective of the exercise was really for us to understand what are the differences in culture that we should be mindful of when we speak and work with folks from different parts of the world, different countries, different nationalities. And we've applied that. I've learned a lot doing that. But through the many years, I feel and I've learned that it still boils down to sincerity, authenticity, and honestly, it's just the golden rule.
Yes.
Everybody in the world, everybody in this whole entire universe, I'd say, wants to be heard. We want to be listened to. We want to be respected. We want to be celebrated. And I've learned that no matter the nuances and differences, if you focus on similarities and make that your compass, the compass that you work with, it's rare that you will be misled. It's really rare that, people will take it in a negative way or in a light way or that you can't communicate well. You just focus on the similarities. I feel is the most, effective formula in working with people wherever they are, whatever time zone they follow.
That's really powerful, Claire, and sounds simple, but it's sometimes not.
That's true.
In terms of actually practicing it. Would you say that your leadership style has gotten bolder, or maybe softer, or just more human? Through all those years of different experiences, how has it evolved?
I think through the many years, when I was younger, I'd say it was a lot more bold, I guess. The tendency is to be inclined to being bolder and, fierce.
Your natural tendency?
Yes.
Wow. That's not very common.
That's good to know. But when I was younger, it was that then. But you were kind of aggressive. You were kind of go. And things just needed to get done. But as I matured, I learned to be, and because, life has taught me a lot of experiences, it humbled me in many, many ways. You now learn that you have to meet people where they are. And you have to understand where they're coming from, where they are at the stages of their journey, of their life. So I'd say I'm the latter, which is the more human. Because now, you have to have compassion so that you can actually lead people more effectively. I think
where did you get that go, that bold attitude when you started? Because
eTelecare.
That was part of the culture then, huh?
Culture, mantra, eTelecare was a can-do attitude. Because we were trying to prove ourselves in the industry.
Got it.
Right? It was a pioneer company in this industry. And Benedict's mantra then was, show a can-do attitude. We'll figure it out. We'll know how to do it later on. So I think that's where I really got it.
What makes you proud, as an industry leader in Philippines IT BPM, sector? What makes you proud to be one of those acknowledged leaders?
I think that there's a lot of things. No, we just do things very, very differently in this industry. I have a lot of friends that don't belong to this industry also, more so that, other industries, other verticals, very traditional ones. And when we compare notes, like how we do things here, how fast we act on things, how aggressive we grab opportunities and translate that into opportunities for our teams, how we value the people in this industry, and how we influence policies, whether it's in the government or, in the communities we operate. It's just very different. And to me, that's pride altogether, that we are changing this whole game of how things are done. And again, the impact that we bring to the lives of many. In country, I think we are the biggest industry in geo, right? Set aside the OFWs. But in country, I think we have the biggest population of workers. And that's saying a lot because we are impacting millions of lives in this country. And that is something to be proud of. I remember when I was starting in this industry, people would ask me, ano yung call center? Ba't gabi kayo? Diba? And, they would pass judgment, etc. But I'm super happy and proud that we've gone past that, especially during the pandemic. When we were the only industry that was, not naman single-handedly, but our impact to keep the economy alive was huge, right? When everybody else was shutting down, we found a way to actually keep the economy going and get our people continuously employed and cared for, even during the most difficult time. If that's not something to be proud about, I don't know what is.
I completely agree, Claire. We have so much to be proud of, and to think that even in the beginning, we didn't really know.
That's true.
How big is this going to be? What is it? And how big can this really be? And then you fast forward, we were challenged by this 3-year pandemic, and we became the poster child of everything. Work from home, hybrid, doing it this way, doing it that way. And we just said, bring it on.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? And we proved it worked, and it unleashed this demand of work for more digital Filipino workers. So Claire, we've done a bit of research on you. So I know that you are a proud parent.
Yes.
And that because of that, you wear 2 hats.
Yes.
Hat of a parent and, of course, being a leader. Both are full-time gigs. So how have those 2 worlds shaped each other?
Parenting in itself, right? Parenting in itself, and I'm sure every mother or father can relate to this. Parenting itself requires a lot of characteristics or traits such as time management, resourcefulness, right? Resilience. It takes a lot of that. More so, especially if you are single-handedly doing it, like in my case. So, many years ago, I've lost my husband. So this is his 11th year. So I have been a single parent for 11 years now. So I have to do it single-handedly. That taught me, or that influenced me to become a little bit more disciplined. I'd say much, much more disciplined. Stability and reliability is of a huge importance. It becomes massively heightened. Why? Because you're doing it alone, right? And when you're doing it alone, there's no, okay, you play the good cup, I play the bad cup. Wala akong backup. I don't have BCP. And I don't have the luxury to say, oh, Dad, we share the headache or we split the heartache. There's no such thing. Being a single parent almost obligates you to be as creative as you can so that you find every means possible to get everything done the most effective, the most efficient way. because there's nobody else who will pick up the loose ends for you. And that's why I think through the many years that developed my utmost interest in keeping things easier, simpler, faster. That's why I like innovation, because to me, I need those so that I can function on both my worlds, whether it's my work, whether it's, the kids at home. I have to be able to do that. And that's how I guess, both my lives or my hat has shaped each other.
I'm sure many of the parents in the audience, Claire, will empathize with what you just said. No, it's hard enough. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm a co-parent, and that's hard enough. But just to think of what you go through, have gone through, and are still going through, because this is always going to be a work in progress, right?
Absolutely.
Being a parent. So I wanted to ask you, have you learned anything from your kids?
Oh, a lot. Actually, so especially on technology, right? So I'm not a tech native. I don't think our generation was a tech native, but my kids are, obviously. So they teach me a lot of that. They school me and educate me on the hypes, the trends, the language. And it helps me a lot because the majority of our workforce is almost that generation, that age. So I can relate. So when they're talking about me behind my back, I can actually think, okay, so that's what it means. But, I learn a lot from them, especially from that standpoint. What's new, what's hype, what's trend.
So I'm curious now, what's the latest piece of tech or trend that you picked up from your kids recently?
Recently, actually, so my kids are on Discord. So when I'm not home, so it's a chat platform, it's a gaming platform also. So when I'm not at home, I usually message them through FB Messenger.
Okay.
And they're like, so I was like, wow, how come you're not responding to me? You're not replying. I've messaged you like hours ago. Ma, I'm not on Messenger. I'm like, you're always on your phone. How can you not be on your Messenger? And they're like,
what's Messenger?
Nobody uses that anymore. I'm on Discord. I don't have a Discord. I don't know what that is, right? But they've been on that platform and everything else every app or gaming app that's in there. Now they're into Dungeons and Dragons, and apparently there's this whole new gaming app that does that. And during our time, that was just a board game.
Right. That's what I know it to be.
But now it's an app. It's a gaming
app. Wow.
App.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So Claire, we're going to flip gears again.
Sure.
And this is actually one of my favorite parts of the podcast. And I'm going to ask you some questions that I just kind of made up.
Okay.
And all you need to do is respond by saying the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay.
So don't think
too much.
Don't be too analytical with these. These are supposed to be fun. So are you ready, Claire? Okay. What is your most important meal of the day?
My first meal at 11 a.m. So whatever people call that, whether that's breakfast, brunch.
What do you normally eat?
Chicken.
Okay,
and
so
vegetables.
you have something kind of substantive, huh? At 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Okay. What's your favorite quote or saying?
Quote: if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Wow, I like that. I like that. How do you unwind after a long and stressful day?
I watch a lot of K-dramas.
Okay. What is the last movie or series you watch on TV?
A K-drama? Bon Appetit, Your Majesty.
You recommend that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's fun.
A song that you cannot skip.
A song that I cannot skip. Recently, Kids by Alexis Sloan.
Wow, I have to look that up. I don't know that one. Running, walking, or sleeping?
Walking.
Okay. You do 10,000 steps, Claire?
Yes.
Probably more. You're a bit of an overachiever. What is the one perception about you that you would like to prove wrong?
That I'm a sungit.
Is that your
Yeah.
thing?
I don't think anyone who's ever met me the first time has said, "Oh, she looks nice." No. They always say, "Sungit naman." Ganun. So,
Well, hopefully this podcast will help.
hopefully.
What's one habit that you cannot break?
A bad habit that I cannot break?
Oh, yeah. Only the bad habits are fun.
Multitasking. You know, when I'm
Oh my
listening to
God.
like watching a movie, I still look at my phone.
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Wow. Oh, man, that's hard. What's the one word to describe how you work?
Purposeful.
And what is the one lesson that you learned from your kids?
It is never as bad, it is never as good as you perceive it to be.
Wow, you learned that from your kids.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. I have to meet them. All right. Excellent. I'm really enjoying this, Claire. I'm going to pull out my next question, right? You know, your reputation is one of being a leader and innovator. You know, you've always been a champion of innovation. What about today's, transformative technology and evolution excites you the most? And what part of it, if any, still makes you a little bit nervous?
Good question. In my mind, how lucky are we to be the generation that stands witness to a massive evolution in technology, right? How lucky are we to be that generation? Imagine from telephone booth, telegrams to now smartphones, smart mobile phones, from cassette tapes, CDs to now just streaming platforms, right? We were that generation that stands witness to that. And today in our line of work, even in our line of work, from clunky, humongous call masters with prongs to today, just, soft phones built into your laptop or whatever device you're using. It's a single pane of glass, everything right under your fingertips, with technology that doesn't only care for the clarity of your voice, but also eliminates the background noise and does
Right.
all that good stuff.
Right.
But also takes away the pain of navigating millions of knowledge articles that you don't even know what to find, to just a keyword or a
Right.
phrase
Right.
that the technology automatically captures, transcribes, drops into your search box, and gives you the answer. Presto, you have it there. During my time, I didn't have that. I had cheat sheets in front of me, and I
Right.
had to
Right.
scrim
Right.
through my clear book to find the answers. Now you can rattle it off confidently, and you know it's accurate, and you know it's perfect for that conversation that you're having with a customer. Imagine how exciting that can be, right? Everything under the fingertips. And to me, there's nothing more exciting than that. The life that, the life that we live, plus the work that we do with all this technology is just going to be so much more exhilarating with everything that's happening today. And I think it's up to us to really take advantage of that. So that's keeping me up. That's exciting me on a daily basis. And the continuous pursuit of innovating to meet that goal is really something.
You've really articulated that so well, but I also sense that there's some tension,
Yes.
right, about what comes next.
Mhm.
And I also was listening to you as you were saying, it also comes with some responsibility.
Absolutely.
All this technology accelerating so fast, but yet, I think there is no more important time for the human element to
Yes.
remain at the core.
Absolutely. I think, to your question earlier, what something that scares me is security. Obviously, with technology, you're exposing yourself to a lot of security risk. And that's the most important thing that I think we should all be thinking about as we either adapt new technology, put new technology out there, implement new technology. security should be everybody's responsibility. It impacts a lot of lives. In fact, in Concentrix, security risks, fraud, or anything like that, we call that an Armageddon kind of scenario, right? It can terminate the whole thing. So it has to be top of mind, and it has to be a priority for all of us. And I feel like that should be everybody's responsibility. And that should be figured out. So when you put it out there that technology or innovation, there has to be a huge responsibility caring for the security piece of it, the information security piece of it, so that we protect everybody who's using that technology.
So Claire, that begs a question. No? How do you upskill and reskill yourself? I know you do.
Yes.
But how do you do it? Maybe we can learn from your practices.
Continuous learning for me. And Concentrix has a lot of courses, etc., that we do that. But continuous learning for me personally is something that I do because in the world and in the work that we do, life, technology especially, is moving at a pace that's never seen before. It's unprecedented, right? It's fast. And if you want to keep up, if you want to stay relevant and updated, you really have to subscribe to continuous learning. You can't do this job successfully if you don't keep on learning. Now, it's not always a course you take up or a management program you participate in. Oftentimes, it's actually just conversations with the people who are close to it, especially the front line. They're doing it every day. There's not a better way to learn than to actually talk to them, observe what they do, ask curious questions, look it up on the internet. There's a lot of available resources out there that you can upskill and reskill yourselves.
Wow.
Again, as I said, I'm not a tech native. Definitely not. In fact, I'd say I was one of those who were late adapters to technology. But if you continuously open yourself and try to learn as much as you can and force yourself to learn, you will. And you will appreciate what it can do. And it will also educate you on the things that you should watch out for.
Learning by doing, right?
Yes.
Really no substitute for that. Let's talk a bit about Concentrix. So Claire, let's talk a bit about Concentrix and the culture of the company. How do new ideas actually come to life in Concentrix? Are they born in conference rooms, or do they come from people on the ground, on the front lines, who just say, hey, what if we do it this way?
It's actually that. So yes, it comes from the ground. I think in Concentrix, let me start with the Philippines in itself. The Philippines, if not the most, is one of the most mature CX ops industries in the world. In Concentrix particularly, we handle millions of transactions on a daily basis. So you can imagine the depth of knowledge that's there, the domain expertise, the tenure that we amass on a daily basis. We have the unique position of having data and information about our clients' customers' journey and the journey of the support folks that's handling that transaction. So we have both the external and the internal. So that's very, very powerful. It puts us in a unique position to actually blend that together, make sure that, whatever we learn from there helps, for example, the client address or identify a need that they need to address or a gap that they need to address. Because when we do that, it creates more value for their shareholders, their employees, their business, and ultimately for us and the game changers within Concentrix. So going back to, the solutions, the tailor-fit solutions, those are fed into the design team. The design team obviously will create the solution. They'll tailor fit it for whatever gap that is needed, whether it's for our folks so that they are set up to do their job successfully and can support the client in a very high performance standard or execution. And then after the design, they'll actually put it back on the production floor. We'll test it out. Our game changers, the frontline folks, will actually test it out. They'll debug it. They'll say to the design team, change this, change that. It doesn't help me, etc. Or it's making the customer wait a long time. After, that whole process, the testing, the designing, the testing, the execution, they'll put it back to the design team. Before they actually put a final product out there, it's again going to go through a UAT. The evolution of it, the closed loop mechanism of continuously improving that product or innovation, that still involves all of the game changers. That's the backbone of how we innovate or we create products in Concentrix.
So I've learned a little bit about the IX suite, right?
Yes.
Which sounds like quite a bit of a breakthrough.
Yes.
In delivering CX. So what was the what's the origin of the story there? How did that start? Was it like, why don't we try this? Was it one of those examples of those moments when
yes.
let's experiment with this?
Absolutely. It started with that, which is really, we keep saying that obviously, the aspiration or the goal is to be the partner of choice for all of our clients, right? And the best way you can do that is if you find a way to not just meet their expectations, but exceed their expectations on all performance metrics that they have and deliver value that is top of mind for the client that can be differentiated versus your next competition. What's best way to do that is really to supercharge the performance of the folks on the floor. That's really where IX Hero started.
Right.
And if we're going to sell technology to our clients, if we're going to be a technology-based business, an integrated business solutions provider, we got to start internally. We got to make sure that, we're buying our own products. And that's really where IX Hero, IXLO started. And the goal is to make sure that all of our game changers have that technology, again, at the tips of their fingers that they can activate, that they can use so that they can do their jobs perfectly and smoothly with, very little difficulty or struggle.
Can you describe, I'm interested, IX Hero, that started here in the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and what was that journey like from the idea phase to roll out?
Yeah. IX Hero is part of the IX suite. It's a technology that we put, it's a plug and play technology that can actually work with any of the CRM of the clients. It's a single pane of glass that helps, if I am an agent, that will help me handle all of my transactions successfully. So how does it do that? So it integrates all of the I'd say practical technology or needs. No? So for example, my voice, my customer can't hear me because of my background noise. I toggle one button there, radio button. It cancels all of the noises behind me. So if I'm working from home, that's very helpful. This
is the agent doing all this.
Yes, the agent doing all this. It's a single pane of glass in the agent's hands that they can actually, work through. It has clarity. So if my customer cannot, understand me well, I toggle one button. It's going to improve my clarity of speech. Aside from that goodness, this IX Hero is connected to the client's knowledge management system. So you can imagine that, they have their own library of knowledge-based articles. And usually what game changers or frontline agents do with that is they search for, keywords, questions. That's where they get all of the answers that they need so that they can address the concern of the customer that's calling in. They don't need to do that anymore. IX Hero, with IXLO underneath it, connected to the knowledge management system, actually just gets it from the conversation. It transcribes it. They don't even need to type it. It's going to spit out the answer to the question, and they can just read it off from there. That's just a feature of IX Hero and many other stuff that can help them. It also helps the leaders from a coaching perspective. It can also help. So if for example, I am I am a team leader and I want to coach my agent, IX Hero has the ability to amass all of my calls, all of the transaction of that particular agent, puts it into analytics, spits out the data. It tells me exactly, TL, here are the things that you need to teach or you need to coach your agents on. And this is my suggestion on how you should coach.
I see.
These are the scores. So very interesting and very exciting.
That is really a great example of a local insight,
Yes.
right? That moved to being global.
Yes.
Now, Claire, you mentioned earlier, you talked about purposeful leadership. No, I wanted to go back to that a bit and ask you: was there any example, on your leadership journey in Concentrix that you can describe in your being able to achieve that style of purposeful leadership?
I think through the evolution of just, both the industry and the technology that obviously affects and directs or leads how we do business and where we do business. I think as it evolved, there's a lot of noise and hype. Diba? When AI first came out, everybody was excited about AI. To the point that people, even our clients, some of our clients felt na, if I'm a bank A, bank B already has AI. I don't have AI. I want to have AI. And that's hype. That's fad, right?
Yeah.
I think people have this notion that, AI technology in general, innovation or transformation is a plug and play kind of thing. Now you just buy it, you put it in. Okay, now I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
in.
Not plug and play.
Right? It's not plug and play. You have to understand, what is it going to solve for? What do you want to do with it? Because that's the only way that you can make technology meaningful. You can create solutions that actually stick. It's not going to be one of those technologies na asawa na ako. And, I drop it because it doesn't solve for any of my needs anymore. It was just nice and fun at the beginning, but really it doesn't stick. In business, you have to be able to address a gap. And when you do, it creates value, right? And to do that, you have to have meaningful technology. You have to have something that sticks. You have to learn how to discern what's hype, what's trend, what's fad versus this is really something that addresses a real need, a value creator. And when you do that multiplies its gains, not just for your client, for your business, for your employees. And I think that kind of helped me develop that purposeful leadership. You got to stay focused on, what are you solving for? What is this for? Right? Take away the noise.
Right.
And be able to discern and distill and say, this is what I'm solving for. This is what needs to be addressed so that I can create real value. And I think that's what stuck with me through the many years.
I mean, excellent, right? That's an excellent way to describe it. And we all know that our industry is all about process.
Yeah.
And, the successful tech implementations are where, the people who are actually doing the work, the people who have the insights about process and the domain and those across the specific domains, these are the successful implementations. You can't just buy tech, as you said, and drop it and expect it to work, right? So that I would hope.
Yes.
For the Philippines is where our agents, being the process experts, will play a very big role. Now, as we begin to wrap up, this really engaging conversation, I wanted to ask you, Claire, that if you had to define Filipinnovation in one sentence, or even express it as a feeling, what would Filipinnovation be?
So some months back, we had an event that we launched within Concentrix. We coined it Filipinnovation. So I was asked the same question, and I had to give it some thought. Na, what does it really mean for me? And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I still believe that Filipinnovation is meaningful transformation. purposeful innovation by the Filipinos for the Filipinos. Why is it important that Filipinos actually lead that charge? Because in my heart of hearts, and I've seen this many times, many years in my career, Filipinos are truly ingenious. Madiskarte tayong mga tao. Magaling tayong humanap ng paraan, right? And we're always that inventive kind of people. And we've seen that through many examples. So who best to actually create these innovations and transformations but the people who have all the discarte in the world, right? And again, going back to the Philippines being one of the most mature, if not the most mature CX ops industry in the world, I don't think there's anyone out there who can beat us when it comes to creating solutions, creating technology, transformation, and innovation that actually solves real world problems that matter, that are meaningful, and not just a fad, and not just to make money, but because we truly care. And that's who we are. That's the culture of being a Filipino. So to me, that's Filipinnovation.
I couldn't think of a better articulated segue, Claire, into my final question, which is not really a question. It's really something that I wanted to ask you. If you could impart some words of wisdom for young Filipinos who might be listening, young Filipinos who can't yet, at this stage of their career, can't yet quite see how far they can go. What would you tell them? Because you've been there. At the early part of this podcast, you described when you weren't quite sure.
Yeah.
So what would you tell these young Filipinos?
And I tell my kids this also. No, when you're young, you think you have it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
When you're young, you'd like to believe that, my life is mapped out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to study there. I'm going to go to this university, get this job, etc. But life happens. Life happens. And when it does, right, I've seen and I've proven in many years of my life that whatever opportunity is presented in front of you, whether you think, bagay ba sa akin to or not, just take it. Just grab it by the hand and do what you can with it. Because you will be surprised that either you learn something from it and you walk away later on, but you still get something valuable out of it, or it leads you to a lifelong journey that you will actually love and it will love you back. And it will give you so much blessing and be able to share that blessing to others. So when you see an opportunity, whatever it is that's in front of you, just grab it by the hand. Take it. And then decide later on. Pwede naman mag-adjust. But for now, just grab it and take it.
Any final words, Claire, about the Philippine IT BPM industry to the audience?
I truly feel that we have, many years ahead of great success and growth and exciting years that, this industry is going to deliver to this country. One of the things that keeps me up at night is making sure that we build and we protect whatever we have today. It is now incumbent upon us to actually give back to the bigger workforce, in the workforce of tomorrow, to give them continuous opportunity so that they can function, so that they can, practice the skills, share their talent, and ultimately contribute to the country. We have many, many years ahead of us. That's exciting. That's growing. And if we continue to support each other, and I know we all compete in more ways than one. But at the end of the day, it's still an industry that we all want to protect and grow and continuously work together towards flourishing. And if we do that, more and more lives will actually benefit from this industry. So I think, that's all. To me, that should be the shared mindset.
Well, Claire, thank you for sharing that to the audience, and thank you again, for spending time with me on this conversation and Promptly Speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Claire Alfonso of Concentrix. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Promptly Speaking. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.
That's information technology and business process management. We are coders and programmers, agile animators, illustrators, auditors, analysts, from consultants to managers, searching nurses and doctors, data developers and testers, VA smiling CXRs and artificial intelligence engineers. Oh, wait, there's more. We are problem solvers and number crunchers. We speak in several languages, including Java, Python, Python, and so on. And on and on and on. We create heroes and villains. We gain experience and level up in life.
We are the IBPAP industry, working with the Philippines. Join us.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and subscribe to IBPAP on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Stay tuned for the next episode on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
IBPAP.